It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports,
Sports don't stop, and neither do we. Welcome to 365 Sports, your home for real conversations, original shows, and coverage that lives where sports actually happen. Join David Smoke, Craig Smoke, and myself, Paul Catalina, for in-depth interviews and local stories to the moments national media misses. 365 Sports brings you the voices, debates, and perspectives fans care about every single day. Subscribe now on YouTube, search 365 Sports, and never miss a moment because sports aren't seasonal. They're 365.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at a stop. I thought I was fine, and then once I got home, I realized it's a lot worse than I thought. I ended up having a ruptured disc. You say you're not hurting, and then an hour later, you're saying you're in all this pain. I just felt like most people would think that I was lying. And that's when I decided to call Daniel Stark. I owe a lot to Daniel Stark. They really got me what I deserved.
The difference is stark.
Just use AMP-Pace.
Pace.
With Ease US, make studio quality voiceovers for your videos online in over 149 languages and dialects, featuring 468 natural AI voices. Customize the volume, mood, and pauses to perfectly match your content. Plus, capture high quality videos with no watermark. Record your screen, webcam, and voice, and save them instantly to your computer. Never been easier to create professional grade videos and voiceovers. Try it today at easeus.com. That's EASEUS.com. Ease US. Since our founding, we've been revolutionizing hair removal with cutting-edge technology and a commitment to empowerment. The U-Like Air 3, launched in 2023, ushers in a new era of sapphire ice cooling technology, offering nearly painless hair reduction in just 3 weeks. Experience the future of hair removal today at ulike.com, because at Ulike, beauty is about looking and feeling good. That's ULIKE.com. Ulike.
Hey, it's Matt Mosley of The Matt Mosley Show. We want you to watch our show every day, 1 to 3 on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. And you get to see big name guests like Gary Patterson, Art Briles, Scott Drew, Doug McNamee, major Cowboys insiders, ESPN legends like Sal Palantonio. When news breaks on Cowboys or Baylor or NFL, we want you to look here first. 1 to 3 weekdays, it's the Matt Mosley Show.
It's the Pete Sousa Show, folks. We're live. We're back in Flower Mound Tournament, and we are presented by Slovacics. Cam Stewart back in the home base. I don't even call it home base. He's just in Boston, Massachusetts. Chris Visser's in Orlando, Florida. We are in Flower Mound, Texas, getting set for headed tomorrow afternoon, to Birmingham, Alabama for the American Tournament. You know, we talk about Slovacics and sponsors and folks who do right by us. How about we talk about the Richmond Spiders? Folks, there it is. Christian from Richmond Sports Information Department has sent us a Richmond football helmet. The only thing better would be if this guy right here ever got to wear such helmet, because it's beautiful. Thank you to everybody from the Richmond football family for all your support, from Sean Barber to Christian to Mark Magna to Jim Reed to this beautiful helmet, all the way to Chuck Boone, who is still chugging along. Former athletic director when I was at Richmond. I love that place. I got to get back to that place. But spider born, spider bred. When I die, I will be a spider dead. And I got this helmet too. Man, it's beautiful. So thank you very much. We got some new decor popping here in our studios in Flower Mound, and we've got a lot to talk about today. A lot of Big 12 action over the weekend that was eye-opening. One of the games that I was calling was Baylor-Utah. We'll talk about that a little bit as it relates to the Big 12 tourney and Big 12 teams getting into the NCAA tournament. Again, I'm headed to Birmingham for the American tournament tomorrow for ESPN. Stoked for that opportunity. I've never called a conference tournament for ESPN, so that's like really exciting for me. Another new piece of material here. This is perfect for March. That's the Inquirer, the cover of the Philadelphia Inquirer when the 76ers, when Villanova beat Georgetown in 1985. It's like a beautiful, I don't even know what to call it. My mom got it for me, but it's like a fabric. And this is like embroidered, I think is the word. And this is all the autographs of the players from the 85 team. Unfortunately, it was not kept in like mint condition over at the crib on 21 Meadowood where I grew up, but I was able to salvage it when I got home. One more piece
I love
of
the
decor.
idea real quick. I love the idea that you thought the 76ers won something of note and that you would have a newspaper article from it.
Okay,
I find that hilarious.
Now this gets ugly because I will say that they did win a championship 2 years before that, but we're talking 1983.
Yeah.
Okay.
And Villanova's won a couple since then.
I was working with Matt Muehlbach.
Articles.
I was working with Matt Muehlbach this weekend. He went to Arizona, but he's like, everybody loved Dr. J growing up. Matt played on the Final Four team with Sean Elliott and Steve Kerr, and he said when the Celtics beat the Sixers in '82, maybe Eastern Conference Finals, he went to his room and he smashed a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, blew a 3-1 lead. Yeah. It's the first time the Celtics had won in the Spectrum in like years. Simmons had a great bit about, not bit, but like had a great kind of thought about this a year or two ago when he was like, back in the 80s, man, home court really did mean something. Like we saw it in the 2010s because like LeBron was so great. But he was like, go back to the 80s, man. The Celtics never won at the Spectrum. It was just a hellscape to play in. And so that's what made the comeback, the 3-1 comeback in 81 so great is they had to go into game 6 in Philly and they won. That's a great point. And don't get me started. Like, the NBA, don't get me started. That's like such famous last words, man.
But no, I the NBA, the home court advantage just isn't there anymore for a myriad of reasons. And I think the corporations and the load management and all that, like that leads to the regular season, not as much teeth in most arenas. But yeah, I mean, even if I think last year we actually covered it on this show, that like it was almost 50-50 in the playoffs, these teams winning on the road. That doesn't happen in college basketball. That's one thing that college is still really holding on to. Right. Yeah. How was the weekend, Cam?
It was good. It was good, Pete. It was starting to warm up a little bit around here in the 50s today. Sun's out. I put it on the calendar for tomorrow that all the snow will be melted. I don't know that we'll quite get there.
When is Patriots Day?
That is the third Monday in April. So we got a while.
But that's like the official start of spring in Boston.
More or less. Yeah. I mean, people will be outside for St. Patrick's Day. It's this weekend celebrating St. Patrick's Day. There'll be plenty of teenagers drinking in Southie this weekend. So
plenty of adults that look like teenagers drinking in Southie, like you.
Sure. A lot of that.
Probably.
A lot of that too. I got a nice spot on the parade route. We'll see how it goes.
All right, get out of here. I'll call you back in a second. I got some stuff for you. But I forget what I was talking about now, Cam. I digress. Let's talk about the Big 12 and tournament hopes. So we look right now, okay, the Big 12 tournament begins Tuesday, and Baylor will play in the first game on Tuesday. Okay. Now they'll play at 11:30, and they play Arizona State, if I'm not mistaken. And that's probably a great opportunity for them. That'll be 11:30 our time, 12:30 Eastern time. And I love how, this tournament starts on Tuesday at 11:30 local time. How great is that? Okay. But the issue is, if Baylor is able to beat, it's a gift and the curse, right? Because the problem with Baylor, with a net ranking of 49, same record as Auburn, in a better conference, I believe, number one strength of schedule in the conference, I think 6th strength of schedule overall in the country. They're playing their best basketball all season long right now. And having witnessed, they won by 26 at home on, or maybe it was 27. I think it was 20. No, I think it was 26, whatever. It doesn't matter. At home, the game that I called for NBC on Saturday. And they just blew the doors off of Utah. Now, Utah is not very good at all, right? Okay. They have 2 wins in the Big 12. They've won 2 games in 2026. And before, in the non-conference, it was not much better. Okay, Alex Jensen is building something there. He's a Rick Majerus disciple. I believe in what's happening in Utah, and things are headed in the right direction. Getting that out of the way, that's not a signature win by any means. The good news for Baylor fans, I will share with you this morning as it relates to getting in the Big 12 tournament. If you advance, if you beat Arizona State, you will then – so I'm going to say, okay, I'm mentally going to say Baylor has beaten Arizona State, right? That's just – I'm saying that. Arizona State has been frisky lately, by the way. They were ahead. They beat Kansas last week. They were ahead against Iowa State at halftime. This is the end of the Bobby Hurley tour. Right, the Bobby Hurley Give No F's tour is just about to end. I love Bobby Hurley. I hate to see it end, but it feels like everybody's getting ready to turn the page there, barring a miracle run. The problem with the Big 12, and you really have to be reasonable, right? You're probably not. Look, I look at this Villanova picture up here. Okay, I'm the ultimate dreamer. I'm a product of this 85 team. That was really my first sports memory, which is why I am, if you follow this show or listen to me talk, I'm extremely delusional when it comes to like hoping against hope. I witnessed it happen. And the thing about that tournament, the wild part really wasn't that Villanova beat Georgetown. They had almost beaten them twice that year. They took them to overtime at the Spectrum, and they lost by 7 in Landover, Maryland earlier in the year, playing at the Cap Center. Against Georgetown. The hardest part was, the field just got expanded to 64. Villanova would not have gotten in if it hadn't been expanded. They get in as an 8 seed, and you've got to beat Dayton. You got to beat Michigan. You got to beat North Carolina. You got to beat Memphis State. Like, all those teams were like freaking juggernauts, and they beat them all. That's sort of what you got to do in the Big 12 tournament. Like, to win 5 straight games for Baylor, there's no way that's going to happen. But can they win 3? Yeah. I look at this Iowa State game. It's 11:30 in the morning in Kansas City, right? You won't be able to – well, I'll say you will be able, and no knock on the Big 12. This is any tournament, that first session. You'll probably be able to hear a rat pissing on cotton early on in there, right? It's like a pickup game. If Baylor can get up early, they can blow the doors off of Arizona State. And by the way, they'll be able to get a lot of rest before their next game. Their next game could be a night game, right? Like, so actually, let's look at that. I think their next
24 hours.
So it'll be 24 hours. It'll be 24 hours. What does it set up, Cam? Can you look at it? So they beat Arizona State. And then what's their next game? I think that sets up, because talking to people around Baylor, it actually would have behooved them to drop to a 14 seed, really. As far, but you don't want to give away a win against a conference opponent at home, because that helps you get in the tournament too. But you know exactly what I'm talking about. So tell me how it sets up.
Yeah. So then you would have Iowa State after winning this game. In Pete Sousa's theory, you would get Iowa State. Winner of that game then gets Tech. All 3 at 11:30 a.m. Central Time, back to back.
Okay, so the 11:30 actually works for you in game 2.
Yeah. You're hoping, Wednesday, middle of the day, you can't get all those Iowa State people in there because.
But you're right, Cam.
Game.
It doesn't set up any worse after you get by Arizona State, and that's what a lot of people were talking about. I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up everybody's rear.
Yeah.
There's two teams that will bring outside of Kansas, and Kansas State doesn't matter anymore. But outside of Kansas, there's two teams that will bring like the travel terribly well, and it's going to be Texas Tech and Iowa State. And so I would say the Iowa State thing is doable because you played them close earlier this year on the road. So maybe there's some matchup stuff. I mean, that one just slipped away. And also it's early in the morning. And I think that is a great way to generate an upset. You just catch somebody sleeping. The next day, Texas Tech without JT Toppin. Hey, look, I'm just saying it's possible. And also I think it could be possible. Cincinnati has done themselves a disservice by they were right there. And when you look at the strength of the Big 12 conference, if a Cincinnati or a UCF completely falls out of contention, these are two teams who I really thought, especially UCF, would have no issues getting in. Now it's like, you look at it and it's like, will UCF be able to get in now? They should get in, but they've got to at least win a game, their first game at the Big 12 tournament. And if they don't, well, that could potentially open up the door for another team in the Big 12, right? But there's so much that's about to happen this week that, you want to, as much as this time of year is weird, right? Like the conference tournaments, unless the team that you really enjoy rooting for is going to the conference tournament with like almost like a celebration, right? Like a lot of times, like an Iowa State rolls into the Big 12 tournament. It's like a celebration. Win, lose, or draw, they're going to get a high seed in the NCAA tournament. This used to be what it was like for Baylor. And a lot of times people still like to say that Scott Drew would purposely lay an egg at the Big 12 tournament to get his team's rest. Well, that's certainly not happening this year as far from an effort or strategy standpoint. But from a fan base standpoint, this is kind of like an exciting week, but also like, let's get there. Let's unveil that bracket. But as a fan, I know that I get ahead of myself sometimes. I'm like, wow, like I want to get to the bracket, but we're just not ready yet. There's still so much that will happen this week. As much as the bracketologist stuff is ramping up, and we're going to sit here and talk with Rob Cerulo, a guy who this guy's a bracketology expert to the tune of winning a bracketology tournament for ESPN. And oh, by the way, it just turns out that he and I worked together, overlapped at the Charlotte Bobcats. So I'm pumped to talk to Rob. I honestly, I don't remember having an interaction with him, but I'm certain that we will be able to strike a chord where there's a relatability there. But the Baylor game in particular, I just want to talk about two more things that I saw. First of all, everywhere I go, I was a little pissed off about this. Cam and I did a Locked On Baylor show, and we do the show, and it was great. I mean, Cam and I, cosmic chemistry, as is illustrated here every day. And the show goes up, and I'm getting ready to call, a national television game. It's on NBC Sports Network and Peacock for Baylor. I call a lot of national games. Everywhere I go, people want to talk to me about Cam Stewart and Locked On Baylor. It's kind of like, you get frustrated wherever I go. A lot of times in Waco, people want to talk to me about being on the local news. I love that because it opens up an opportunity for me to share with my favorite demo, which is people over the age of 70 years old. But the Cam thing, people at Baylor love me because I set Cam straight. And they're like, yeah, I go, he's just a little too negative, that guy. And they go, he is, isn't he? I said, yeah, Cam, come on back. So I say, yeah, like, I just try to get him straight. The guy, Jimmy, in the wheelchair, when I go through the doors, I'm getting scanned. He goes, oh, I heard you with Cam. I go, isn't he negative? And he goes, yeah, he is.
Wow. Leading questions here, Pete, huh?
But people do people do actually say, I love you and Cam on. I love when you come on and talk with Cam.
I've seen it. Yeah. They genuinely, Pete Sousa on that show is a big hit. That's why I try not to do it all the time.
I love it.
I
love it. I love going on there. It's
fun,
a lot of fun. And I do love Baylor. And I came across, like, first of all, James Najee played on Saturday a little bit. And this is a tip of the cap. This is inside baseball to Baylor fans everywhere. And the analyst, Matt Muehlbach, noted it. The crowd was very celebratory in a very appreciative, understanding way. Like, he got to the free throw line. He made a couple free throws. The crowd really was loud for him. Mm-hmm. They were like, "Hey man, we know this has been rough on you. We just want to show you some love." And I'll tell you, it's been a tough ride for this kid, because if you think about it, the way that a lot of these coaches, and Scott Drew is not like this, but subconsciously maybe he is a little bit. When you look at the toll it took on Baylor and the finances it took on Baylor to bring a guy like James Najee to campus, and it just didn't work out, whether it's health, whether it is just his overall skill level, it's tough for a coach or a person that puts so much out there for him not to kind of resent the kid. It's like, Jesus, I went through all that for you, and here we got this leg being laid every night. What did you think about that, the Najee thing, when he came in?
Yeah, I could definitely feel it. Like, I don't know if it was just like it was a warm kind of atmosphere in the building. You know, they played well recently. I think that has kind of changed the tune on a lot of Baylor fans. I'm seeing that in the comment sections and such of like, and I feel this way too. It's like, damn, like they did turn a corner here. They're playing good basketball. It would have been nice to happen 5 weeks ago, right? Like, and that's them's is the breaks, kids. You know what I mean? But I think there is this kind of appreciation at the end of it of like, look, man, this has been a crap season. We all know it. We know it's not what you guys wanted either. And for Najee in particular, you kind of hit on it, but it's like, I don't know how fair it is that this kid catches the shrapnel. Like,
no, it's not.
You know, he's a young man, but he is still a young man. What's he, 21? Like,
yeah,
you know, he's just trying to get another shot here. I've always been of the belief that I hated this move. I hate that this is allowed, but I'm not going to like hate the player for that. Like I'm going to hate the NCAA for that, for allowing this to happen. You know what I mean? Like if I have a problem with the integrity of this, it's tough for me to say, oh, well, James Najee is your boogeyman. And I think Baylor fans kind of recognize that too. Like the kid probably was not ready to just be thrown into Big 12 basketball in the middle of the season. And it showed. He's worked hard, and he gets a nice little kind of token of appreciation there.
He may come back next year. There's.
Hey, by the way, big moment for you, real quick, because we got a good guest to get to. But big moment for you and the Pete Sousa Show KWTX family. Senior day at Baylor, and how about Darby Brown?
I was so pissed that I didn't even notice. I didn't even notice. She was there with her brother Trent, who is like a senior, like he's still like, I guess he's a grad assistant.
Yeah, GA. Mm-hmm.
Nobody cooler than Trent Brown. He just like minds his business. He just seems like he was really good at Southern Illinois too. Just would stick threes, and nobody's cooler than Darby. So Darby was there with her fiance. They were sitting right on the section of the baseline. I saw him on the way out. But Darby like walked on the floor with Trent, mm-hmm. like, you know, I felt like it almost looked like maybe she had him at 16 and he was like a basketball star. That's kind of what I wanted to imagine, but it's actually Darby's little brother. Yeah.
And I had the thought of like, I wonder if he didn't even know that he was like going to get honored on senior day. Like, I'll bet I'm wondering if he didn't even know till like Wednesday. And he was like, oh,
well,
shoot,
I'll tell you, here's some insight.
Like, we could just book a flight. I'll just get Darby to come up and do it.
Exactly. I think that's 100% because their family's pretty involved. Like mom and dad are usually around. They seem like awesome people. So yeah, like when I saw Darby walking him out, that was like, I think Darby even got a kick out of it. But I will tell you this one thing. I know Rob Cerulo, we're going to get to him in 1 second, but I can tell you for a fact, this is not just Baylor, but talking to other teams about senior day, that I think senior day in itself is a dead man walking, because first of all, really, who are you celebrating? Now, we did see this year, you know, you saw Emmanuel Sharp with Kelvin Sampson. That guy's 5 years at Houston, right?
You got the great Carabin moment. number retired and all that.
Yeah.
You do still get some of those.
Yeah, you do. And even with Baylor, Dan Skillings has had 1 year at Baylor after transferring over from Cincinnati, but he got emotional. And it is the end of his college basketball career for all intents and purposes, barring another crazy change. But I know that schools, even this season, were on the fence. Like, do we even do it? Because it seriously throws you out of your rhythm in more ways than one. It throws your routine off. We even saw Kelvin last week, Kelvin Sampson, start guys who don't normally start, and they got into a hole against Baylor. He had to call a timeout at 9-2. And they were, that game was much closer than I think Houston would have wanted it to be. So I unfortunately feel like the writing is on the wall. And Matt Muehlbach, the guy who worked with me, he said, the toughest shot you're going to take almost all season is your first shot on senior day. Yeah, you've heard that?
I heard him say it. I heard him say it the other day.
So you watched the game?
Yeah. Pete
so
Sousa
how many? I'm going to talk to you after this.
Yes,
because Mosley sent me a message. Matt Mosley, before we get to Cerulo, I teed up Muehlbach. We were like, "Hey, what's it? How does Baylor get back to the 2022 team?" And it's 2021, and I said 2022 national championship, and he goes on and talks about it. Matt does. This is something I would only share with you guys here. Mosley texts me, championship was in 2021. I respond to him, never happened. Like, I'm not going back and cleaning that up. Like, I know I made, it was a misstep. But people know what I meant. All right, Rob Cerulo, let's bring him in right now. A legend in the world of brackets. Rob, do you know, by the way, we worked in Charlotte together. I didn't even know that we crossed over, but we did. Oh, you're muted. Kim, I can't hear him. Hang on, Rob. We're having trouble with your audio, although I love your Butler shirt.
Yeah,
Cam's
it's gonna be something on his end. Should be at the bottom of the screen there. I can't unmute it.
He's not. Look, the guy's an expert bracketologist. He's also like an executive at a company that's like real big time. He understands how to work it, dude. How about
Pete,
now?
here we are.
Rob,
That's much better.
We got you. So, Rob, did you know that we worked in Charlotte together?
We crossed paths for just a couple months. I would have started there right out of school in 2007.
Yes.
And my first day would have been, I want to say, about June 1.
Yeah. So I left in October or September of that year. I went to the Sixers.
And then you came back in 2009 from the TV side.
Yes. Yeah. And so do you remember who did you work for? Greg Economou, one of those guys? Like,
I've got a couple great Greg Economou stories. I'll never forget when I was able to make a sale that as an aspiring rep, right, inside sales, you were on the phone making 100 dials, and it was a rarity to get to speak to Economou in that, seat. So, he was
basically, people who don't know, Greg Economou played at UConn, played for Jim Calhoun, has been a sports executive really since he left UConn, and he was basically the president of the Bobcats, but he wasn't for like 5-6 years. So go ahead.
Great perspective. And sales competition organization wide with a, lofty goal, and being that sales rep that, had just started a couple months ago, I was leaned on in my room to be the guy that just was, working the phones, right? And fortunate timing that I had a sale that lined up with where we needed to get to, win a company competition. And I'll never forget, Pete, Greg Economou coming in the inside sales room. I give you a visual if you didn't, know that sales floor too well, but it was truly a closet type feel. And we're not even talking like a standard, ladies' clothes, shoes closet. We are talking a box dimension type setup here. And GE comes in there and, he runs, I'm in the back of the room, and he wants to do a chest bump, and I fall over because Greg Economou, the figure that you speak of, was just all energetic. And, I'll never forget that moment. And talk about
he just remains. He's a great dude, enthusiastic leader. I felt really close to him, and he was like a regular guy. He would like do stuff like that. He was a great leader.
Yeah. Inspirational guy as it gets too. So.
How about you? So you helped them win that contest, and now we know you're a powerful, successful executive. But 2 years ago, you won the 2024 Bracket Matrix. Like, talk to me a little bit about how you win something like that. First of all, just talk to me about how you won that tournament, like your experience with that.
Excellent question. I've always been a numbers-driven guy. The type of mentality, Pete, that could tell you, hey, as a Cardinals fan, St. Louis sports guy growing up, it's where my career took me after the Hornets to the Blues. I could let you know every day what the latest Cardinals batting average was, right? And it's such an analytical format, bracketology is. It's driven strictly by the numbers tell the story. And I think the piece that so many folks, lose in the big picture is the body of work aspect of it. We could make a case time and time again for Team A beating Team B and then Team C beating Team A, and so why Team B or C should be in the tournament over Team A. But there's biases in that, obviously. And I'm fortunate for the unfortunate situation that Butler basketball, since the Big East invited us in so graciously, I've had a tough string of 8 years of not being in the NCAA tournament. So all my biases have gone aside lately. It's made it a little bit easier, right? But where I go with this is changed, the dynamic and the system really to net rankings variable. Those quad one wins have become so much the piece of the overall picture that says, hey, this is why you are where you are in the flow of things and what seed line you belong in. And, as a bracketologist, our job is, strictly to understand what the key components are for measuring each team's success as the committee gauges it. And net rankings, some are very well aware, especially your viewers, that follow college basketball on the level they do. But, a quad one win is a victory against any 1 through 30 opponent at home, or on the flip side of that, a road W against a 1 through 75 team. And there's a lot of disparities with the quad one wins from, let's say, those top 20 to 30 teams in the tournament to when you're really searching for those last 5 to 8 at-large squads. And I think just a little bit of a tangent here, when the talk is, all right, should we stretch from 68 to, call it 128 teams? It's going to be real hard to find those teams outside of the top 68 that have that story and body of work that I speak to be, a relevant tournament team that you can make a case and say, hey, this squad is playing in the same tournament as a 14-2 Arizona team in quad one wins when they are, 2-14 in their quad one games, right? It's going to be
so when you're picking, Rob, when you're picking teams, when you're looking at your bracket, do you really look at teams that have collected a certain amount or enough quad one wins? Does that really propel you to move them forward in your bracket?
It does. And then there's that star power aspect too, Pete. And this year is so unique. I mean, you're looking at, I want to say 6 or 7 of the top 15 win finalists, all being freshmen. So who can take over a game? You have to have that player too, right? That demands the ball late in the game and, can be counted on to, hit the big shot. I think this year with the injuries that we've seen as well, and the star power being freshmen, it's a little more wide open as to who that Sweet 16 in particular is going to look like compared to other years. But to your initial question, so much does lean on, hey, this squad has performed at a strong rate. And when I say strong rate, if you look at the quad one wins for even my Sweet 16 projections this year, when you get to the 13 through 16 types, you've got a lot of 500 ball in quad one games. You're not.
This is great. This is great stuff. So I'm looking at your right now. Your Sweet 16, Sweet 16, excuse me. So you have Duke, Michigan, Arizona, Florida. Those are all your 1 seeds, correct?
So those are my ones. Yep, in that order too.
Okay, and your 2s, these are on your 2 seeds are UConn, Houston, Illinois, and Michigan State, correct?
That's right.
And so that's right. I'm like reading them off it. I appreciate you being patient. So then I got the remaining teams after that. Iowa State. So this is where it gets interesting. This is the rest of your Sweet 16, right? Iowa State, Vanderbilt, Virginia, Gonzaga, Texas Tech, Georgia, BYU, and Wisconsin. So that's great. So let's focus on one team right here. Those are your Sweet 16s as we sit right now, right?
Precisely. Yep.
Yeah. So a team like BYU, I have to imagine that star power component you just shared with us really takes over for a team like that, because in a lot of games they're going to play in, right? They're going to have the best player on the floor. Like
That's
that
100%.
Yeah. So that star power enables them to take over.
It is such a must-have aspect in a game when team seasons are on the line too. I think that's such a key aspect that, we sometimes lose is the human element to playing in the tournament, right? I mean, and these one and dones, the Batsa is a guy that is selected most likely number 1 in the draft. I mean, He is out there to prove himself on a level and beyond. And you're looking at this Saunders injury, which I felt so bad for those guys because, you talk about having a guy with experience, which is invaluable in these moments, and that can hit the big shot. That element they'll have to search for a little bit, but it just means, I think, a usage rate here for AJ that is going to be out the roof, right? And he might see the ball at a 35 to 40% clip. And, I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking at a couple, 32 to 38 point performances that are just after the first few rounds. This is the lock-in number 1 pick.
How do you consider or build into context when you're doing this, like just how powerful the Big 12 is? Because, BYU lost a bunch in a row. Who knows how well they'll do in the tournament? They won their home finale on Saturday night after losing consecutive games. But it's like, they lost those games in the Big 12. The Big 12 is so good. If they can avoid some of those meat grinder type teams, like who's to say BYU can advance? Like that's a great point. And I see that sort of in the illustration here. Another one, while for the sake of time, just to move forward, do you have Duke out in the Elite 8?
I do. Yeah.
All right, you got some explaining to do, Rob. Come on now, because the numbers in the analytics would say that that's wrong, but the numbers in the analytics people didn't win the 2024 Bracket Matrix championship. They didn't. Those robots don't win, dude.
I appreciate the shout out there. And Pete, it's a great question. Injuries do play a part in it, right? I just don't think that they have that healthy component to where they need to be right now. Having a few guys out and questionable right now. Boozer, he's right there as far as being a Naismith Player of the Year. If I had to vote right now, I would go with Boozer for the award. But I think the numbers also show from an analytical component, Boozer is the most efficient player in the game. And some of that comes to play when he gets a few less touches and the usage isn't run quite as frequently through him. So if you're all of a sudden leaning on Boozer just a little bit more to that point, is he as effective in the tournament? And is he going to be able to put that performance together for them with the regularity, falling into a little better of a system play that he has recently? I don't know. And that's where I'm taking him to lose nearly.
How much do you take conferences into consideration? Because I think the ACC kind of stinks, and I think the Big 12 is elite. And although we've seen Duke win huge games this year, right? But you win Michigan, that's almost like an outlier because every other game that you're playing, you're just beating up on these teams, right? They just clearly weren't on the same level as Duke. Do you consider that a little bit like the weakness of the ACC when you look at Duke's body of work and how good they just might be?
Conference strength matters a lot, Pete. Absolutely. Yeah, I would say that, from the other side of that, more so than anything else. And like the SEC last year, they got 14 teams in. I don't see it being anywhere near that level this year. I actually think they're one of the, down performers in the conference. And I like the Vandies and Georgia, who are both playing really good basketball right now and peaking at the right time to make as long of a run as anybody. Their Big 12 is just having a heck of a season, grinded out ball. I put them in the Big 10 right there with each other, give a slight edge to the Big 12 this season. On that note, I'm really glad you brought it up too, because I think there's a case to be told when filling out your bracket. In particular, picking those Big 12, Big 10 teams, you got to watch to see how these conference tournaments, shape out. I tend to like a few teams that might have an earlier exit in their conference tournament and are locks to make the tournament as an at-large otherwise. And it's just for a matter of what you said, because the wear and tear of playing a couple extra games in the Big 12, the Big 10, that's so physically demanding come tourney time. When you're playing 35 games a year, there's a difference between playing 37, 38 compared to that team that has 2 extra games of rest to their advantage.
And to what you said, Rob, like also if depth is at all an issue, that becomes an issue, right? Like if you've got a 7-8 guy rotation or just 7, let's say, because of an injury, that all of a sudden now you ran the table, you won your tournament. That's great. You're on a stage on a Sunday afternoon in March, but now we got to turn right around and get on the road. And how are our legs doing? How are we going to be able to shoot them 3 late in the game in round 2? Going all the way back to that. What was it like when you won the Matrix? How much dough did you win? Can I ask?
Not enough to tell a story. It's a pride factor, right? And situationally, it was a scenario in which this is a passion of mine, going to Butler and being somebody that played sports throughout my career. One of the best things that ever happened to me, Pete, was I tried to walk on to the baseball team there, didn't make the cut. I knew it was going to be a long shot, more of a D2, D3 type of recruit, wanted the education back then. So I said, how can I stay in the sports world? And I went to the sports marketing, director at the time and volunteered all 4 years around the game. Just to speak to the passion element that drives this. But at the end of the day, there's so many brackets out there and pools that, if you want to find that one where dough is the key factor, man, it should be had. So.
Let me ask you a couple more. Who is your biggest dark horse in this tournament? Whether it is a team that will make an upset in the first round, that people aren't even sure will get in right now, or if there's a team. I mean, I'm looking at your Sweet 16 now. They're pretty much all Power 4 teams, right? Power 5. I don't think we have no teams from the Big East, which I love the Big East. Oh no, UConn obviously. But I think that's right. Is there a dark horse you have that people aren't talking about right now that will be dancing into maybe even that second weekend?
A great question. I'll tell you what, a lot of people have been down on the Big East, and I'm glad you brought this up. We didn't plan the matching attire today, man. But I took my son actually to the Nova Butler game.
We're talking Villanova now. It's my sweet spot. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we road trip from Charlotte to Indy, and you got to remember, being a sports marketing guy, I had to sit at the scores table, and so I couldn't cheer and celebrate at any of the games. I had to be that guy that did the silent clap and whatnot. And so we get out there, and it's just an energetic setup, and really, I'd arguably say that was one of the turning points for Villanova this season. Came into Hinkle. Butler always holds their own at home, and your boys just second half controlled that game. I remember them shooting about 55-60% from behind the arc in the second half. And I think the Big East in general has taken some knocks this year because the, mid-tier hasn't necessarily been as strong as we're used to. But it's still a Power 5. And, UConn, a lot of people so easily forget, they won 2 of the last 3 national championships. There's the Hurley factor. Patino, obviously, at St. John's, still can coach with some of the best of them. Nova's balance is a team that, has been tested throughout the year. To your point, I like a squad like Villanova. If they can, draw a favorable matchup, and there is that situation where I think in the best case scenario, they would fall to somehow that like 10 to 11 line. 8 and 9 is just so dangerous, right? Because then you're looking at the ones. 11 is probably unrealistic at this point for them. They really are in that 7 to 9, maybe 10 range. But if they can get a favorable matchup, is my point. I could see a team like Villanova making a little better run than expected. I am higher on the Big East than most people this year. And, that's even keeping that Butler bias aside.
Our last question. What's the number one thing you would tell somebody that is looking for advice, putting their bracket together this year?
Don't overthink it. It's a matter of going, with your gut. If you like a matchup factor in a game where, hey, for instance, Florida has such a strong front court, right? And you say they've got a path to where they, oversize a couple of maybe mid-majors in the late rounds, and it's an easier untested route to where that wear and tear, like we've talked about, hasn't really built up on them throughout the tournament. Then maybe you say, hey, these guys are your final, Elite 8, or maybe they can make the Final 4. The three-pointer, though, at the same time, is the great equalizer. So you could see that squad that plays a Florida team and say, oh, this is just a matchup made in heaven for them. And, they might shoot the three-pointer at a 40% clip coming out of, a 20 to 25th ranked conference, in the land, and say, if they shoot 40% from the field this game, they can go somewhere. So you really do have to play that matchup. And if there's one element to look into when picking games that you're on the fence for, take a look at the, starting 5 for both squads. Take a look at the efficiency rates and shooting percentage of 3-point, shooters, the top couple on some of those teams that are mid-majors. And there's lesser and lesser of those, Pete, every year, unfortunately, in the tournament. But, there are those instances, right, where you can reasonably justify through numbers. The analytics guy in me is always going to say this, that through numbers, the team to advance, based upon how they've done successfully in the past.
Dude, Rob, that was a success. I appreciate your time, man. And I'd love to have you back. That was You're really good at this, and it's a good thing we didn't link up when I was in Charlotte, because I would have gotten you into a lot of trouble. So it's good.
Hey, really enjoyed it, Pete. Thank you so much for the time.
Yeah, Rob Cerulo, man. Thanks so much, dude.
Take care.
All right, brother. There he goes. He's family. He's Rob Cerulo. That was pretty awesome. He's a Big East guy. He's a Bobcats Hornets guy. He's real cool. I know 3 dudes from Butler now with him. 3 guys that jump out at me. Ryan Henson, who is my boy, who I did news with. He played football. I did news with him in Waco. He's now in DC doing TV news there. And then Matt Schumacher. Schumacher is like ESPN superstar. He ran track at Butler, and he's doing fantastic. He's like a play-by-play guy, and Schumacher is the best. So that's pretty cool. We got some cool Butler guys in our life. All right, let's talk about Lake Waco Golf Club, right? I mean, you want to talk about a golf club. It is right on the north point of Lake Waco. 18 holes, right? An executive course, an executive par 3. You go to the grill, the bar. They've got food. They've got specials. They've got great gear, by the way. You've got to check out the gear in the pro shop. I've always talked about, if you're going to bet with somebody, save your money, bet, hey, I'll beat you and I'll buy you some gear from Lake Waco Golf Club. And the website is lakewacogc.com. lakewacogc.com. Get out there, play around. They actually have memberships, and they have an executive par 3 18-hole course. So maybe you don't have a ton of time. Maybe you just want to kind of refine some stuff. You can get out there and play the par 3 instead of just playing maybe 9 on the 18. Amazing environment out there. Lake Waco Golf Club. Make sure you get out there. lakewacogc.com. We'll step aside. The Pete Sousa Show presented by Slovacics. Back after this.
Bumblebee Blinds of Waco and Temple is your one-stop shop for custom window treatment, transforming your vision into reality. Choose from a selection of shades, blinds, shutters, and curtains. Bumblebee Blinds stands behind our service and products, ensuring peace of mind with our trusted warranty. Call Bumblebee Blinds today to schedule your design consultation. Bumblebee Blinds, simplifying window treatments one covering at a time. BumblebeeBlinds.com.
Overwhelmed by your inbox? Clean Email is here to help. Organize, clean, and manage your emails with powerful automation tools. Say goodbye to spam and clutter and enjoy a stress-free inbox. Try Clean Email today at cleanemail.com.
What if you could clean clean? With bio-based formulas and deep cleaning enzymes. No dyes, phthalates, or mystery ingredients. Just powerful pods for your dishes and laundry. Now you can, with drops. Made clean, made to clean.
Welcome to Kit Bag, the ultimate destination for football fans. Whether you're cheering for Arsenal, Chelsea, Manchester United, or any other top club, for true football passion, think Kit Bag. Visit kitbag.com today. That's kitbag.com. Kit Bag.
It's the Restore Clarity Focus Patch, my little secret weapon for staying sharp, focused, and on task. Each box comes with simple instructions inside, so you always know exactly how to apply it. Each patch lasts for 3 days. I love that I can wear it all day.
Samsonite is the world leader in durable, high-quality luggage and travel accessories. Travel with Samsonite and pack confidence every step of the way. Shop now at shop.samsonite.com. Samsonite. At Tusane's, we understand that maintaining a healthy lifestyle can be challenging, especially in today's fast-paced world. That's why our mission is to make fitness accessible to everyone, anywhere. Visit Tusanes.com today and start your journey to better health. That's TOUSAINS.com.
A house is a property, but we live in homes. Home sweet home. Homes where the heart is. We aim to deliver the best home buying and selling experience so you can spend less time real estating and more time living.
Unlock a world of convenience with Mullybox, your one-stop solution for personalized subscription boxes delivered right to your door. Each box is tailored to your tastes. Mullybox.com. That's MULLYBOX.com.
Better sleep, inspired by nature. Your back, hips, and shoulders will fall into perfect alignment in any position, meaning that you get deeper, more comfortable rest. Visit ecoterrabeds.com.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
Welcome to Market XLS, your all-in-one Excel solution for investors. Designed as an enterprise-grade platform, Market XLS caters to investment managers, secure and efficient investment management and research. Book your free demo.
Everybody at Equilife really has a passion and a real interest in helping people feel well. How much further can we go to get you feeling even better? It is a complete partnership between the two of us.
So all you have to do is tap your Popple to the back of someone's phone, like that, and they instantly get your social media and contact info right on their screen. They don't need an app or a Popple to receive your info. So get your Popple today and start impressing everyone you meet. Make it pop.
It's hard to find supplements that work. No, thank you. Plant-based supplements made from the Earth's most powerful plants for your immune health, gut health, workouts, and more. Find out more at auraorganic.com. Stability.
All right. Thanks so much to Rob Cerulo. Of course, Chris Visser. Big props for setting that up. I want to shift now to a little bit of like pop culture, maybe like entertainment news. But this is a story. I saw this right before the game I was calling on Saturday. And I was, as somebody who's getting married in June, this rocked my world. Okay. I'll read you the story. And I want to spice it up a little bit. So this is from the Daily Mail. All right. The headline: Dak Prescott's fiance shared cryptic Instagram post just days before calling off the wedding. Okay. Yeah. If you didn't know, their wedding has been called off. Right. And so here's the article. The now ex-fiance of Dallas Cowboys quarterback Dak Prescott may have hinted at their split in a cryptic Instagram post just days before it was announced. Prescott and Sarah Jane Ramos were due to get married at a lavish ceremony in Italy next month. But TMZ reported on Saturday that the wedding has now been called off. Now, the high-profile pair, who share 2 daughters together, are said to have had a blow-up argument on their... Okay, though this is the dumbest idea I've ever heard. This is like some stuff that you'll see on Love is Blind, right? Why are they taking a joint bachelor and bachelorette party to the Bahamas? I don't get that. Maybe I'm old school, and I'm not saying I'm looking to go on a bachelor. I'm not even going to have a bachelor party. I really don't want one. I mean, maybe we'll do a get together in May or something, but like, that's not what I'm looking to do. So I'm not saying like the behavior on a bachelor party is like baked in to be so abhorrent that you can't have your significant other like in the same city or in the same whatever, but to get everybody together and to travel, and you know, there's alcohol, there's who knows what else, like emotionally. I don't know, man. That'd be a tough sell for me. So something happened, a blow-up argument on their joint bachelor and bachelorette parties in the Bahamas. This is allegedly. Fans are now convinced that Sarah Jane hinted at the split on her own social media accounts this week when she posted about only needing friends to get through anything in life. That is still some of the weakest stuff in the world, right? Whatever. Just stay off social media if you're super emotional. Alongside a series of photos of her gal pals in the Bahamas, and with Dak conspicuous by his absence, she added, "I love these girls so much." Now, here's the kicker, which is honestly, like, I see this almost as good news for the two of them, and I believe they'll figure it out. I really do. Because Prescott and Ramos, they have children. They got 2, like we mentioned, Margaret and Aurora, and they're 2 months and 9 months, 2 years and 9 months, respectively. And she opened up about a change in dynamic after they had the kids. And she said, and this is the last thing I'll read. Obviously, parenting brings a new element to your relationship because it's not about you two anymore. The priority is your child, she told Sports Illustrated in December 2024. Parenthood makes you understand your partner on a much deeper emotional level, and it's definitely brought us closer. So we don't have anything like as to why. I'll like besides that like rumored blow up argument. I'll say this. I'm a big fan of like a great love story, and I had just assumed, because if there's one thing that this Dak Prescott guy seems to have really under control, are like his off the field life. And like, he does not strike, if anything about Dak Prescott, he is far from exciting, right? Like far from a guy who makes a lot of headlines for the wrong reasons. I don't know if you'd call that exciting, but somebody who is compelling off the field, right? Like I've never heard about him getting in trouble at all. The type of guy that you would want your kids to admire, on the field at times, whatever, but the guy's an amazing quarterback and seems like he's an amazing guy. So that doesn't mean that I'm putting it on her, because we don't know anything about her, right? I will say that those social media posts in the wake of a breakup of a marriage say something to me about where her head is at emotionally, and maybe who the erratic one could have been in the relationship. If there's anything that Dak has showed me over the course of his body of work, and we've had, like, I think his brother took his own life. I think his mother has passed away. And certainly in the face of like Cowboys Nation and, media folks who are members of the Rogue Media Network, like Ed Werder and Matt Mosley, who are no nonsense, who are going to get the story. Like Dak's done a tremendous job navigating all of that. So the story sucks. More will come out. It's certainly interesting. The number one thing that jumped out at me is like, why are you doing that kind of bachelor party? But I'm sure whatever it is was building for months. But it's just not as it seems. I can remember he got engaged during a bye week. And I do remember that, thinking like the Cowboys had a bye and they were doing terrible, and he got engaged, which I was like, all right, you might want to settle down on that, but whatever, it's his life. And because they posted all kinds of stuff, but that's fine. Who cares? I'm getting really nitpicky. But then I remember they beat the Raiders on Monday night. And I think the game was in November or December, and he ran right over there, and he's, gives her a big embrace and a kiss after the game on the road. I thought that was a sure thing, but hey, man, love, man, matters of the heart are tough. So I'm thinking about those two. And honestly, I hope they patch it up because they have two kids. I wouldn't care less otherwise, but I hope they figure it out if nothing crazy happened. All right, let's bring in Cam Stewart. I'm going to put Cam on the spot here. I've never done this with you, but I was thinking about this when Mosley sent me a message that I screwed up the date of the 20. You're muted.
Sorry. Can I just real quick, Pete, because you've got an aesthetic right now that I couldn't quite put my finger on. And I had to go deep down into the memory banks of an old SI article from the 80s that came out on April 1st. But Pete has got the Sid Finch thing going on right now. I mean, am I wrong?
Hold on, let me show you something.
Exactly. Yeah, I didn't need to see that, but I could see that.
Cam, you're the best, dude. You're the best.
Sid Finch action.
Any reaction? And by the way, the best April Fool's joke in the history of man, because I was a kid and I was a Met fan because I was a sellout, and but I think that was actually before the 86.
I think it was
85.
because one of the prospects they talk about him throwing to is the guy whose jersey you have hung up. I'll back up.
Our guy.
Nails.
Yeah, the dude. Lenny
was one of the guys. Yeah.
So that's an amazing story. George Plimpton writes a story about a fictitious baseball player who can basically throw 200 miles an hour. And it got over on just about everybody. Like, And that's an exceptional. We'll have to revisit that. I think they did some stuff for the 40-year anniversary last year. An exceptional piece of journalism. And good news for journalists, by the way. I just saw this during our break. ESPN, the worldwide leader. Two things, two tips of the cap to ESPN. One, the Brian Pata documentary that is up now, that was produced by ABC and ESPN, is amazing. Amazing. It's 6 parts. It's one of those podcasts that I'm listening to, and in the middle of them, I look down to see how much time is left on each pod. It's that good. I watched the 2020 on the Brian Pata murder last night, and it was really good. But man, it reminds you that if you're looking to take a real deep dive into the world of a heinous crime like that and learn everything about it, sometimes it does take 6 or 8 episodes, dude, because there's a lot of really interesting stuff that was on that podcast that I have heard so far that was not even touched in the 120 minutes collectively of content, right? A 2-hour show, but we were watching on Hulu, so it's like 123 minutes of that documentary or the news magazine that was 2020. Another tip of the cap to ESPN, they hired 4 or 5 writers from the Washington Post that were just let go when the Post eviscerated its sports department. So it's like, all right, like, let's go. Like, score one for Don Van Natta, right? And the editorial group and the folks over there at ESPN, that gets me pumped up. You know, it really does. So that's cool. All right, so let's turn the page. You watched the Baylor game last night. If you didn't know me, what would you have thought of the call? What would you be like, this guy's a hand job, he's talking too much? Like, really, honestly.
I mean, I guess working the shaft a little bit. I mean, like, I didn't think it was crazy, but maybe that is because I know you.
What was I working the shaft of who?
Well, both teams to a certain extent, but but even that's like a bit of a stretch. I thought it was fine, and you know how tough I am on play-by-play guys.
Yeah,
I could be pretty tough, and most of them I don't know. But no, I would have had the Mosley antenna up after the 2022 national champs. It's just the way she goes, man. Just the way she goes. I'd be
that's
like,
fair. That's
be like, what
fair.
else is this guy blatantly lying about? What else is this guy choosing to lie about on the broadcast? No, I don't think there was that much servicing going on, Pete, personally. Do you think so?
It felt like a great call. And you were on my mind because people kept talking to me about you. And then Mosley corrected me. I'm like, I wonder what those 2 cynical pricks really think. That's what I thought, like, about me. Now, Mosley's like, I'm watching the game because you're calling it. That's why I didn't go, which I'm thinking, well, that's a lie.
Yeah, that's nice and convenient to say.
Yeah. Now, I believe that I bring a certain pop, and like, I think I can make a game feel big. I do. At the same time, too, I love Scott Drew. And you know, I fall in love with Alex Jensen, and I love the Big 12. It is our job to celebrate the game, by the way, asshole. All right, it's not like 60
Bro,
minutes.
You led me to that answer, by the way.
But we have to celebrate the game. You have helped me with one thing. When they show things on the screen that everybody can see, I don't feel like I have to talk about them.
Bam. And one thing I was just going to say, and just this is a general, it did happen on Saturday as well, but like in general, you know, you're not one of those guys who has to be, every time like a big shot goes in, has to be like, got it. Or I was watching Tatum's comeback on Friday night, Mark Jones, ESPN, and I watched the highlights, and every Tatum shot, butter. I'm like, I get it, brother. I get it. Like,
I'm never going to tell Mark Jones how to do his job, but I have realized from just watching all the greats over the years, you don't have to say it's TV. You don't have to say it every time.
Mike Gorman, man.
Yeah.
And like that butter thing, like that kind of puts 2 of my things together. One is I just don't like when there's a crutch there. And I had this all the time when I was a play-by-play guy, my illustrious career. Like just having a crutch of saying this one thing too much, or this one term too much, or this thing, you know.
Yeah.
I was one of those guys who did a baseball game and would write out the 15 ways to say that a ball was hit. You know, I was one of those guys.
But that's a good exercise, dude. I read over a variation of terms every game before I call this now, because I just don't want to get atrophied up there. I want to be reminded of there's different ways to say stuff.
So there's that, which you don't do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you crutch words. I mean, everyone kind of does. But the second part of that is kind of the flip side, which is I'm watching the game. You can tell me that something good has happened without being like, got it, nothing but net, like every time. You know what I mean? Like that's a Pete Sousa thing of like,
how about,
Obi Agbim, he's a streaky shooter as he's taking a three, but he's hot right now, after it goes in and the crowd pop. And like, I know what happened. If I'm sitting there listening to it while I'm trying to take a nap, which may or may not have happened, I know what happened. I know what happened in the game. So
I learned that a lot from like Musburger, just watching a ton of those games. Like you don't have to be, I think a lot of times people are still, we're very much living, there's a guy is the Clippers radio announcer. God bless him. He has that job because he is a TikTok celebrity, flat out. And he called a game last week on Fox, and I was just like, you could tell he's finding his way still, like calling games, but he's a superstar, and that's an evolving part of our trade and sports culture and, the environment we live in today, that you can't begrudge him for any of that. Like the guy's at the table. He's got a seat at the table, and he's the Clippers radio play-by-play guy. I really don't care if he killed someone to get that job. I'm curious to see what good he brings. Like, why does he have, you know what I mean? Like we could poke holes at any play-by-play guy. You really can.
I think you should do the Hornets route, the Hornets TV guy.
I love, first of all,
just scream, man. Just
Eric Collins said something. I love him. I've spotted for him several times. I told you he's the guy. Collins is the guy who did this when I was spotting for him. Visceral like this. These are spotting boards from Dick Stockton, by the way. He would do this after a play was run. If I didn't immediately point at something, he would step back and be like, look at me like, you going to point at something? Like, what do we do? Like, but he kind of wanted to make sure like I was engaged. And once he got to know me and realized that I was engaged and I kind of knew what I was doing, he is, this is no lie, to see a guy like that become as successful as he's become is like, okay, like God's does have the universe at some point. He's the best guy you will ever meet or work with. He treats
and like the passion seems real, by the way.
It is real.
It's just a lot.
And do you know what he does that's not BS, but sometimes I think I might be better when I do this too. He doesn't listen to any other games. He doesn't watch any other games. He doesn't listen to any other play-by-play guys. At least that's what he says. And that's, when you got it going like that, right? And you are just stream of consciousness and it's work for you. Why would you want to change? Because when you listen to other guys, sometimes you can get into your head a little bit.
Yeah, I think when you get that seat at the table, I actually don't think that's a bad strategy.
No, I noticed that. I try to stay away from it too sometimes, but then
like realistically, you probably do. Like if you're at, the Charlotte Hornets, maybe there is an ESPN national job in the future, but there's not that much better than being the TV guy for an NBA team.
No, there's not. Look at Mark Jones. Mark Jones still does like 20 Kings games a year.
Games, yeah.
That for me is like that would be the top of the mountain to do an NBA, to do the Sixers play-by-play and to sprinkle in like, 15 national games, 10 national games, and then still get a chance to do maybe some football, I would call it a day. I would love that. Did we I really got along with my analyst. Did we get too carried away telling stories at times?
See, this is not because you're my friend, because I guess I could say yes, but by the other token, it's a 25-point game.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's a 25-point game for two teams that in all likelihood are not going to make the tournament. It's the last regular season game with, in today's world, with a bunch of guys who aren't coming back next year. So, like, what are you going to do? You've got a guy in there.
We made it entertaining.
Yeah, you got a guy with you who's played in a Final Four, for a team that's in this conference now and has a lot of war stories. Like, I'm never going to knock knock broadcast teams for doing war stories. And that's where I
Yeah.
might be a little different than some other snobs, because I do consider myself a snob. But like, if you got good stories and good storytellers, like, go for it, man. Go for it. The problem I had when TNT did the players only NBA broadcasts, the only problems I had was that they were focusing on too much trying to be like play-by-play guys. I'm like,
Yeah.
Greg Anthony, you're not a play-by-play guy. You're not. And you're not. Chris Webber, bro, you're not going to be. Like, just shoot the shit, man. Like,
Yeah.
just, kind of have it out a little bit. That's why they're doing this. And so to go to like a blowout, it's like, how much were you guys going to analyze down the stretch there?
Yeah.
If you got a good storyteller, go ahead. Sometimes you don't have a good storyteller, and it's probably not the way to go. But you did. God,
Well,
this sounds like I'm working.
I mean,
Pete's
you
show.
don't see you don't seem. I certainly don't seem like I got an A talking to you. I mean, like, what?
Why? What did I not like about it?
I mean, you haven't been like glowing or complimentary. I mean, like, but I did want you to be honest.
That's just to keep you humble. I mean, I would have given that a B plus, and the only reason it's not in the A is because it wasn't a good game.
Yeah, it was tough.
Which you can't control. There's other parts of this, Pete. There's other parts of this.
It was a lot of fun. I was almost sad at the end because I did have so much fun working with Matt. I knew it was the last Big 12 broadcast of the season. I hope Baylor makes the tournament. I like Alex Jensen, Utah's coach, and those guys were just so. It was tough at times, like Utah. Like,
yeah,
what are you gonna do? I can only talk about Rick Majerus so much. I was
and
talking.
Dude, the American, by the way, the American is getting a treat. Like, you know what I mean? You're kind of big time here, Pete. You do bring like you said it a few minutes ago. You do bring some of that to a big game. Now the American gets it. When in reality, someone like the Big 12 should get it.
I think it's strictly because I hear my voice and I hear it get deeper with every year. And I'm telling you, that's a huge part of it. I go back to even my TV news days when this is 10 years ago. I was nervous and my balls had not dropped, and it didn't sound good. It didn't look good. It wasn't like you even watching, because I'll watch games back and I get hypercritical. Your delivery, you just want to seem, you want to meet the moment, but you also want to kind of have a loose delivery. Like, you just don't want to seem like there's any bit of, like, there's too much intensity behind the regular stuff,
Yeah, I get you.
All right, we've analyzed all of it. Anything else from you, Cam?
No, I think that's it for me. We got the Derby thing out there. That was good. I'm sure you've been all over the World Baseball Classic.
Dude, I could care less. And Bryce Harper told me it sucks. Why does anybody care?
And he's getting a bunch of heat for that, by the way. And I'm like, you know what? He's right. Like, he said, like, this tournament's fine or whatever, but what we really need is guys at the Olympics like they do in the NHL. And I'm like, you're kind of right, dude. I think baseball should do that. They never will, but they should.
So that's not a reality when he's talking about 2028.
I doubt it. MLB players, I doubt it.
Okay.
I think they should, though.
All right. We got to do Bumblebee, by the way.
We do.
Because when you're talking about blinds, you don't want to, you got to talk about Bumblebee. Okay. And Bumblebee blinds, I'm going to call up the read here because I don't want to get it wrong because they're a new sponsor and they've been dynamite. They've treated us so well. Bumblebee Blinds of Central Texas. You can find locations all the way to Austin, Temple, Waco. A one-stop shop for custom window treatments, specializing in shades, blinds, shutters, and curtains. Bumblebee Blinds stands behind their service and products. Schedule your design consultation today. BumblebeeBlinds.com. BumblebeeBlinds.com. Make sure you check that out. Also, so much thanks goes out to Daniel Stark Injury Lawyers, Socorro Family Ford, Crawford Austin Properties. We're not in the TFNB Bank Studios today. We're in the Kevin Sousa Memorial Studios. Shout out to Big Bro. And this other piece right here, I didn't get a chance to mention this because we went right to Rob Cerulo. That gentleman right there, the bald guy with the tie on, that's Lance Blanks. He passed away, I think it'll be 3 years ago. 3 years ago, coming up in May. Lance was one of the guys my first season with with ESPN, he kind of like held my hand through a lot of the early games I did. He was great at Texas. I think he helped me out with the powers that be to solidify like a spot on the roster full time. And I love Lance, and he's going way too soon. So shout out to Lance Blanks. This is his time of year, baby. Every March, it's another dance with Lance, right? So thinking about guys like that. And thinking about you guys tomorrow. Cannot wait to get the Pete Sousa show cranked up again. It'll be, Cam, I think we're going to start at 9 a.m. tomorrow. Okay.
Sounds
you
good.
Cool with that?
Yeah.
Okay. So everybody watching, we're going to start at 9 a.m. Sorry, I haven't been in the chat. I got like a setup where I haven't been able to get to it. So I appreciate everybody getting involved. Go to the Pete Sousa show YouTube page, like, subscribe. The Brian Hodgson interview we did last week was out of this world. A lot of people are watching it. A lot of people chiming in. It's an opportunity for you to help folks get knowledgeable about foster care, right, and adoption. So if you want to share that with friends, do that. You'll be doing a good thing, and you'll be helping the show that you like so much, right? The Pete Sousa show. All right, we will see you guys tomorrow.
Bumblebee Blinds of Waco and Temple is your one-stop shop for custom window treatment, transforming your vision into reality. Choose from a selection of shades, blinds, shutters, and curtains. Bumblebee Blinds stands behind our service and products, ensuring peace of mind with our trusted warranty. Call Bumblebee Blinds today to schedule your design consultation. Bumblebee Blinds, simplifying window treatments one covering at a time. BumblebeeBlinds.com.
It's the Pete Sousa Show. Sports.
We definitely love our relationship and love Extraco. It's been an amazing experience.
They made the PPP process easier. They were reaching out to me saying, what can I do to help you? That made a huge difference because my stress level, when we shut down, to afterwards was night and day.
Our experience with Extraco has been phenomenal since the very beginning, so we love Extraco.
Nobody tells our stories better than our clients.
The difference is stark. I was rear-ended at 70 miles an hour. I was injured, had a concussion. The insurance company, they delayed. They were playing games from the initial conversation. They weren't going to help me. The biggest thing I learned through this is that you can't go through this alone. I called Daniel Stark. They were going to help me and everything was going to be all right. Daniel Stark got me 10 times the insurance company offered.
The difference is stark.
Nalgene Outdoor has been your trusted companion, fueling adventures and helping protect the planet. We're committed to reducing waste, improving access to clean water, and providing simple, safe, and sustainable products for you and your family. NALGENE.com.
Our professionals are not only experts in managing urgent concerns, but also in providing top-notch preventative health care. We're proud to connect pet owners to a vast network of licensed veterinary professionals, ready to address any immediate concerns. Book your first appointment today.
Sports.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.